Welcome back to Oopsy Daisy. If you have stuck with us through every episode of this Addiction Unfiltered series, congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, you have ridden this roller coaster and you have arrived at the end of this wild ride. If you remember the end of part 4, Emily literally blew up her car on purpose in the streets of Minneapolis, and we are waiting to hear what awful thing happened to her. Let's dive in. Let's wrap this baby up.
No fear at all. If a stranger came up to me on the street, it was like, I'll go with you to somebody's house. Like, I'll get in a car with a stranger. Like, I was doing just anything. I had no fear or no, like, sense of like danger or like protecting myself or anything. Anyway, so I meet this guy, right? And he has a bike, and like I remember I rode on the handlebars like down this hill, and like he had meth and I had already gotten high on fentanyl. Oh, and that's the thing, I was doing fentanyl at that point too.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't just heroin, it was fentanyl. I left that little detail out because it was really hard to find real heroin anymore. Like by the time like 2020, 2021 came around, it was really hard. It's really hard to find real heroin. It's all fentanyl. So yeah, I'd done fentanyl and he had meth or whatever and weed. And so I ended up doing some meth and smoked some weed with him. Right. And that's literally the last thing I remember. And we were in South Minneapolis. I had just met this guy, an hour before or something. The things I remember after that are just flashes. Like I see like this other guy who was not the same guy. I kept flashing back to like feeling like I was with Rob. And I think it was like my body and brain's way of like dealing with a really traumatic situation, like going back and forth between this person who I didn't know and like feeling scared and like seeing it as Rob or like feeling like it was Rob. I knew we were driving together. I know that like we had sex. I got drugged. Like I said, I can still see that man's face. It was like 9 p.m. like the last thing I remember. And all of a sudden like it's light out. Hours have gone by.
Oh my gosh.
And it's light out and like we're driving in a car and like I knew and felt like I needed to get out of the car, right? I was on the passenger side. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm butt naked. And I crawled while he's driving, crawled out the window, the passenger window on top of the car.
Oh my gosh.
I remember myself doing that. I had every drug in my system except one of them. I can't remember what it was, but I had PCP and tranquilizers and, and ecstasy. I had on a 12-panel drug test. I had everything but one. And all I had done was fentanyl, meth, and weed. So there was 7 drugs put in my system that I don't know what they were, but PCP is very known as, if it's like you think that like you can fly and like people do crazy things like that, but it was also like something, and I know that I know, and God's giving me like this clarity, this man was going to kill me. And like, I knew that he was going to kill me and I needed to like escape. Like I needed to escape.
What?
Yes. And like, that's something that I have like prayed about and talked about with my therapist and just something that it's just like, I know in my heart that he was driving me somewhere to kill me.
Oh my gosh.
I end up jumping off the car, and I'm on University Avenue, which is like a highway in Fridley. Doctors and stuff estimated that he was going like 45 to 50 miles an hour, and I jumped off onto the side of the road. And, I came to like just in the hospital, of course. But like I said, I remember like feeling like Rob was like, Rob was like so much he was like watching me like get put on the stretcher. And like I had like just kept getting like visions of Rob. It was really, really weird and crazy. So they take me to HCMC. They said that they've never seen anything like what happened to me, but I had like road rash from literally the entire left side of my body had road rash because it's like I hit the ground and just like skidded across on my left side. I had shattered my foot. I broke my pelvis and I broke my elbow. And what's crazy? Up to that point, I had never broken a bone. And I was 31 32 years old, and I had never broken a bone. And then I went and shattered my heel, broke my pelvis in 3 places, and broke my elbow. Jumping off a car naked in the middle of the morning on University Avenue, drugged and raped. That's definitely the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And I've had a lot of bad stuff happen, you know.
Oh, Emily.
But I was literally like, and when I was like, hold my leg up, like keep my leg in place and like up and raised up, and like, and of course my dad's my emergency contact, and like I was in and out of it, and like I remember in the medical record, and it talked about, you know, me being like in and out of consciousness in the beginning, which also it's like it makes sense, you know. And so I like I don't remember a lot of like the first couple days, but I know that my parents were there, and I had to go in this bath, and like literally just black, like all down my arm, all down my sides, down my hip, down my legs, down my knee. It's like I still have all these crazy scars. You should see my hip, and like,
my gosh,
my elbow from where I broke it. Like, do you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, and so they had to take me like in this tub and rub and scrape and peel off like the scabs on my whole body, and it was so terrible. And that was the other thing. It's like we give people fentanyl for this because it's so bad. And I was explaining to them, I was like, I'm on methadone and I'm a fentanyl user. I was like, it's not good, like whatever, like I need more, right? And that was like something that like they only gave me what they would give a normal person.
So you could feel
oh my gosh,
that.
I could feel it. I could feel it completely. It was horrendous, Amanda. It was horrendous.
I just feel really sick to my stomach right now.
Yeah. It was really, really bad. And like I said, you know, it was hard for my family to see me like that. I called Rob, and he came to visit me and everything. And it was a really messed up, tough, just heartbreaking and painful in all ways experience. My parents and the hospital started discussing like what had been going on with me, like how I was going through postpartum psychosis for this whole time, or, you know, it had been 6 months at that point of being in the postpartum psychosis. And I ended up getting put on a civil commitment.
What does that mean?
There's 2 types of commitment. One's a mental health commitment where you have to be held in like a mental health facility and finish mental health treatment, or there's a chemical dependent commitment. So that's like you have to be in treatment. Yeah. Like if you don't comply with it, cops can arrest you and like bring you to jail or bring you to a hospital. You're a ward, of the state kind of. Yep. Yeah. I didn't really understand what that meant, you know, and like I felt like for some reason like I should be upset about this, you know, but I just remember being like, I don't know, all I want is to be okay, like at this point, you know.
Yes.
And so I did like accept it. My injuries and stuff were so bad that I wouldn't have been able to leave the hospital for like 10 days anyways. But I ended up spending 3 weeks there because I had to wait for a bed to open in treatment. So I was having to get, you know, directly transferred to treatment from there. So I was in the hospital till the very end of June. They ended up getting me a bed in St. Paul. I went to treatment there, and I had like a wheelchair. I was on crutches. That was something else I had to like relearn. Like I had to work with a physical therapist while I was there, and like, you know, start like going down the hall and like going upstairs with crutches, like with a broken pelvis, and my foot broke, you know, had a cast up to my knee. And
could you take painkillers at that point, or what did they?
They were being very. So they were giving me my dose of methadone, and for a little bit in the beginning, they were giving me low doses of fentanyl, but that only lasted for like 5 days. Okay. And they didn't want to give me any other painkillers because I'm an addict, you know. And that's something that's bit me in the butt before too. Like, it's like because I'm on record as like an opiate addict,
yes,
you know, like in the hospitals and clinics and stuff. You're like red listed or whatever it's called. So yeah, they didn't want to give me any other painkillers, just like Tylenol and ibuprofen.
That'll put a dent in it.
Right. The hardest thing I've ever been through for sure. So I had crutches and like I had a wheelchair to use when I first got into treatment. But the thing is I was still very much like in my psychosis. That's where I got actually diagnosed with postpartum psychosis too. No, yeah. So they told me that postpartum psychosis can last up to a year. So I really tried to like, apply myself in treatment and everything, but I was still going to the methadone clinic. So I was getting a ride there every morning, having to go on my crutches and everything. And so that's when I started seeing Rob again. I remember he helped me out of the car the first day that I went to the clinic after getting out of the hospital and stuff. And one day, somebody outside of the clinic gave me like, those little gum packs, like that flip open, like those plastic ones.
Yep.
He gave me them with a couple cigarettes in it. Right. And I was like, thanks. Like, I appreciate it. He's like, you want this? So I put it in my bag and go in to get my dose and then go back to the treatment center, and they have to search your stuff in there. So they pull that out and they open it up. There's dope in there.
What?
Yes. And I had zero idea. And I don't think that I didn't even know this person. So I don't think he was trying to like purposely give me dope. I think he forgot that it was in there.
Yes.
But they find fentanyl in that pack.
Oh.
And they don't believe, of course, they don't believe that I just took these cigarettes from somebody. Like, this isn't mine. I passed a UA even. Like, they gave me a UA and I passed a UA. But they kicked me out, and I'm on a commitment. So they're not even supposed to be able to kick me out.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And that was the other thing where like, I feel like the whole, all the systems that are in place, like were failing me.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I'm also, trying to get medically stable, but I'm also very mentally like unstable still.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be committed to a facility, and you're going to kick me out because you think I purposely brought heroin in here. Mm-hmm. And so they literally asked me like where I could go, and I was like, I have nowhere to go. I was like, I guess you can take me to the methadone clinic, because I was like, I'm gonna have to sleep outside till the morning. So they literally dropped me off with my crutches and all my stuff at the methadone clinic,
knowing that you have a psychosis diagnosis.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Right? I should probably sue somebody. I should probably get some money. Why haven't I never thought of that?
Here's your realization.
Oh my gosh.
You got some phone calls to make.
I got some phone calls to make, because that's insane. That is not cool.
Because you at that point are a vulnerable adult.
I'm a vulnerable, and I'm also like, I'm in danger of hurting myself or somebody else.
Others.
But I felt like it was like they don't care about me anyways. And it was a couple days that I didn't use, but I ended up using. So now I'm back on the street. So I have crutches, had just like a backpack of stuff or whatever. But yeah, in crutches, going on the bus and the train and whatever, trying to get around and trying to get high every day. So I get my crutches stolen from me. I go to North Minneapolis towards the end of June. So it was only like 3 or 4 days after I got kicked out that it was 4th of July weekend. And so I went to North Minneapolis, which is a really rough. And that's the other thing. Like, if you're a white girl in the hood by yourself, it's, you're putting yourself out there to like get something happening to you, really. Mm-hmm. But so anyways, this group of females ended up taking my crutches from me, like roughing me up, and stole my crutches.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm in a cast and like just had a broken pelvis and a broken foot, and I'm homeless out on the street, and now I don't have crutches.
Oh my gosh.
Can you believe this? Can you believe all these things that
I'm like, wait, does it get any lower at this point?
That God has walked me through?
Yes.
I know. I mean, I literally was like hopping around on one foot, like around Minneapolis, like crazy. And I mean, I of course was, using. Yeah. So it's like, I was in pain, but it's almost like I just kept, just like numbing it as much as I could.
Are you still having these conversations with God and like still feeling him deeply, or not at this point?
Yeah, it's back and forth, but I feel like, because this battle is so spiritual, I had so many, just opened the door to so much of the darkness too at that point. I had to really like search for it, kind of a thing. But looking back, like I know whether we're searching for him or not, like he's still right there with us.
Yes.
And I mean, it's crazy, especially in my story, how many near-death experiences I have, but then also how many ways that God was just keeping me safe, like keeping me alive through so many circumstances, and that's where it's like, it ended up being just random people all the time. And that is when I started prostituting myself for drugs. When you get that whole sexual thing, like it just gets so twisted and so dark and gross, like soul ties and stuff are real, and like just that whole thing. And I'm just with strangers, like people I don't even know.
And this is you're in a cast, and you.
So I was in a cast, yeah. So I was supposed to go back in for X-rays, right? But But the cast, it was the middle of July and I'm out on the street every day. I was so hot, right? I ended up literally soaking my cast in downtown Minneapolis in like the pool thing that they have, the fountain, and had some of my like homies who I didn't even really know, but like that I was hanging out with for the day, literally cut my cast off me. Yeah, so cut my cast off way too early, and I was a show out on the street. So I'd have like one shoe, and then all of a sudden I'd like lose the other shoe. I'd be literally going around Minneapolis like barefoot.
Oh my gosh.
On the streets of Minneapolis. And of course my hair, right? My hair's grown back a little bit, but like not really. My hair's like
oh my
short
gosh.
And like spiky.
I don't want to laugh, but like
no,
I don't know what else
to do. Can you imagine me? That's why, to be honest, I'm surprised that people, I mean, I guess men will be men, but like people even wanted
that was my
to
question.
do sexual
in
things with
this
me.
State, you're prostituting yourself, and people are all about it.
Yeah. So I'm like living on the train. And the thing is like the whole fentanyl thing, like, and the blue, like, you know about the blues, like the fake Percocet pills, like that are actually fentanyl. Those were just so big. And it was like a community of people that were out there on the street being addicted to fentanyl. I mean, not just fentanyl, you know, meth and crack and stuff too, but it was just like, so everybody, there was so many people every day that it's like, all right, we're going to get on the train and like, we're going to, you know, try to get high. And like, it just was like, there was so many people in Minneapolis, like in that summer. I don't know if it's still like that, but it was really crazy to be part of, because it just was like hundreds of people in downtown Minneapolis. We're just, you know, and we're at US Bank Stadium, like big places in Minneapolis, just all hanging out, like getting high and like, just, it was insane.
Wow.
It really was. And
it's like a whole world. You just live in your own little world.
Yeah. I mean, I was in that world, you know, and I'd had that being homeless experience out on the street with Rob, but it's like, that was being with Rob. This was me by myself in a very vulnerable state. For months. I ended up getting caught on, you know, I'm still on the commitment, so I'm supposed to be in somewhere. And so I got in trouble. The cops and the Metro Transit police would always be like shutting down people, because people would be smoking fentanyl like in the bus stations, like just out in the open, you know. So they were like always roaming around and whatever. And so I got caught doing that one day on the transit, and like they were really cracking down on it. So they like pulled me to the side and like asked me my name. And instead of giving them the wrong name, I gave them my real name. So they ended up taking me into the psych ward at HCMC.
Oh, thank God.
Right. And that was in September. So it was like 2 solid months of me being out there. There was times and nights that like I would find some rando like to be able to sleep in a house, but like I slept outside like 80% of those nights. Literally,
on a bench, or just like wherever.
In the park. Like I'd literally like go like up on like, you know, something on like a playground and like curl up and sleep behind a building, like, or just not sleep, like just, you know, because like I said, there's people all the time, so it's like you could just walk around and not sleep. It was really messed up and it was really crazy. So yeah, God definitely, you know, allowed me to get rescued, kind of a thing. I was held in the hospital for a few days till they could get me into treatment. I went to treatment. And so this is the crazy thing. When I got apprehended, I think that's the right word.
Really fancy though.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I didn't know that I had 2 fentanyl pills on me that I put in my bag. When I got to the hospital, they searched my bags. So I was like, okay, they found them, you know, and it's like, nobody's ever said anything to me, but it's like, of course, that's what I assumed. So I get to treatment and they also search my bags. Start treatment. I call my parents and like, let them know, because that was like over 2 months of them not knowing where I was. Yeah, they didn't know if I was alive or dead or what was happening to me. And especially after what happened in the hospital, you know, that whole thing, it's like it made them even more scared of what was happening to me. Yep. You know, started my treatment, and, you know, at that point I felt like it definitely was taking me a while to feel like any sort of clear-headed. But so I ended up going in my backpack one day and I find those 2 fentanyl pills in my bag after 2 places were supposed to search my stuff. Because of course I was really, and I do remember very much so, like being like, okay, like I have just went so hard for how long, like I'm done. Like, and I knew that God, you know, is very much like God taking me out of it and like putting me in somewhere safe. So I was fully committed to like being clean. But then now after only a couple days, I'm face to face with these pills that I've been smoking for how long. And I was like, but so I took those in the bathroom, shoved a towel under the door and smoked them in the bathroom. And like within 10 minutes, someone was knocking on the door because they stink.
Yeah.
But so I get caught and the same thing. They're like, you got to go.
Oh my gosh.
And again, I was like, what about my commitment? And they're like, we can't have fentanyl in here. Like, you know, you got to go. So I was back out on the street again. And,
what happens to finally get you? Because you're sitting here in my chair now.
Yeah, I know, right?
And this is...
Yep. So now I will sum up the last year and a half really quick.
Yeah. I'm like, what else could happen?
Yeah. So it was like 4 months total. 4 months out there on the street.
Gosh.
I went into a house and I ended up getting arrested for first-degree burglary, which means that that's the highest level of burglary. That actually means legally that you broke into somebody's house.
Yeah.
But I was like literally invited in by somebody, but I started like going through drawers and so yeah, they found me and they don't know me. And I was in like a bedroom, like rifling through drawers. So I get arrested for first-degree burglary. Yeah. I ended up doing a month in jail, and Hennepin County is terrible and I don't want to go into it, but it's terrible. And I was, you know, in withdrawal then because I, you know, was still taking methadone plus doing all those drugs. I was horribly in withdrawal again, losing my mind. I ended up going to the suicide watch actually, because I was like so crazy. I ended up like losing my shit like after however long of not sleeping. So they put me in the suicide watch cells for a while. Like it just was really bad. But so my lawyer worked, you know, tried really hard, but it took a month for me to actually get transferred to treatment. Mm-hmm. So I went up to Fergus Falls. Yeah, that starts my journey from the last just over a year, because I went to treatment November 22nd, 2023. I was talking to my family a lot. You could do Zoom calls there, like video calls. And so I got to, you know, for Christmas was just a couple of days after I got there. I got to, you know, talk to and my family on Zoom. But because I like ran, they looked at it as ran on my commitment, even though I got kicked out of places. Mm-hmm. So normally a commitment's only like 6 months, or they extended it for another like 9 to 10 months because of how everything had gone down. So I knew that I was going to be on a commitment and have to be in somewhere for the next 9 to 10 months. So, I went from there to another inpatient place. I finally moved to Montgomery, which is where I am now, to the sober house, and have been doing outpatient. I had a really good counselor at the first place, and she was a very big Christian. She gave me a life recovery Bible, which I've had at so many points in my life. Like that's what we worked out of at Teen Challenge. So that was really cool. And, you know, I told her how much, like, I was like, I want a faith-based like treatment plan. Yes. And so she let me work out of the recovery Bible, which is really cool. And, you know, God just fighting to get back to that place with God, you know, but he was just so in control and had my path laid out for me, even though I didn't know it. Cause, I ended up Spirits at Rest, where I am now, is actually the director there is my mom's lifelong friend. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah. And she has known me my whole life. She saw me be born.
Oh my gosh.
This woman saw me be born.
Wild.
And she is in charge of the outpatient that I ended up at. And also being in Montgomery, like right where I grew up, you know, and like just after this long of a journey and a struggle and just what has happened in the last 20 years of my life, like to be in a place where I'm just I've surrendered completely and like I want nothing more than to be in recovery and to be walking with the Lord. Like he put me in a place where, like, you know, I had such like support and I was so close to my family and, you know, in a community where I grew up. It just was like really, really cool.
Yeah.
And
you answered my question. I was going to say, not to sound pessimistic, but after all the times, why is this different? What's different now? Because now you've been sober for a long time.
Well, so speaking of that, you know, I would have like 15 months clean, right? Which I don't have 15 months clean. I know we thought we were done, right? So it is different.
I did. I was like 15 months.
Yep. So, yeah, I know, sadly, but this is why it's different, is what ends up happening. But so once I get to treatment, you know, I'm still talking to Rob, and like he was just at the
If anybody could have seen my face right there.
I know, right? Yeah.
Okay.
You should have seen her face. But you know, my reasoning and like my excuse for so long was like, we went through this, and it wasn't an excuse. It was real to me and like real to us. Like we went through that adoption and like all of that together. Really, it made it hard for us to let go of each other, because it's like we could only understand, like, or the other person was the only other one who understood what it was like.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, plus of course all our history, you know, at this point I've known him for 11 years. It's like we've been through a lot. But so I did, you know, was still talking to him, and he you know, has continued to be on and off, in and out. We did set up our first visit with Joy as soon as I got out of inpatient. So got together and we did that together. We did that visit, and then we saw each other in July. We did a visit, and so I saw Rob, and like I knew that he was still using at that point, right? So I was really worried about it going into it. He, of course, was like playing it like, well, if you need any support, like let me know. It probably will be hard for you to get on the train, because I was having to take the train to Minneapolis for the visit. And he like knows, you know, it's like how much I use on the train, and was homeless on, you know, out on the street in the train and all that connection or whatever. But he was like, yeah, trying to play it like he was going to support me and everything. And I was like, you're using, you know? So it was like, whatever. I felt, you know, alone during that. And it was kind of a trigger for me that was the first time I was back in Minneapolis, you know, after that long. So, and it was just like something in me, and like seeing him and knowing, even though I probably assumed in April that he was using, you know, I knew for sure in July that he was, but like our visit, you know, I just wanted to focus on the visit, and like we had a really awesome time, and like, I mean, just my time with her is so special, and like those visits, like it feels like a long time in between them, even though it's not. But at that point, it was only the second time I'd seen her in like a year. Yeah. You know, so you know, I just was very focused on her and trying to kind of not like let myself like feed into him. Through that visit, we started talking like a lot more, which was not smart. And that was something that, so this is how it wasn't different. Like I was in treatment, and I was going to treatment and working with my counselor and going to meetings. That's something that I'm doing different this time. I was never like fully on board with an AA or NA program. And I very much like embraced like actually working a program, you know, getting a sponsor and all that stuff, which I at that point hadn't done. I kept pushing getting off a sponsor, but I was like, I'm going to meetings and I'm doing it the way that, you know, you're supposed to. And just being super honest about everything, and not wanting to hide from anything, or like, you know, for so long in my recovery, it's like there were certain things I didn't want to talk about. Yes. And it's like, I was so open and like willing to, I just wanted to heal. And it's like I knew the only way I could do that was to be completely put everything out there, like raw on the table. And, you know, so that's something that I was doing as well. But it was Rob, and it was him, and that whole connection, and how just strong and deep of a hold he had on me. I ended up going to visit him in September. He was using, and he had dope on him, and he ended up telling me that he had dope on him. So again, it's like at that point, I think for the first time, I mean, not that I didn't realize it after the fact, but in that moment, I was like, this motherfucker does not care about me. Yeah. You know, and it was like I saw him in a different light. And it is absolutely because I had done so much like inner work on myself, and the codependency, and not wanting to be in a toxic thing, and, you know, just like what I knew God wanted for me, and like, you know, just the level of what I wanted from a man, and like everything that he had put me through, like, but it's true. So I really saw him in a different light, but it also like in that moment, like just was like pissed me off enough that I was like, I'm going to use one more time. So I got high, and I ended up buying dope, which was terrible. So I bought dope that night, and I brought it back with me, and I was using at the sober house for 2 days, 2 days straight. And it was really terrible. I was really, really sick. I was like throwing up all the time. It just was really bad. I don't want to go into details, but I fell hard like for 2 days, and it was scary and crazy. And I like literally had one of the like craziest spiritual awakenings. I would be listening to worship and I would be shaking, literally shaking like my hands and kicking my legs. And like, I felt like he was like releasing the hold that he had on me and the hold that like drugs and, you know, that hold, like it was crazy.
You got deliverance.
I got deliverance,
like
you got just from God, like, and me in my room at that sober house. Seriously, like words cannot even describe it. But, and it was like, of course, in the moment I'm like, oh my God, but it was like, I was like shaking my head back and forth. It was like, I was like going through like an exorcism of sorts. And that was the last piece that was going to keep me stuck and keep me sick. And I needed, whether we have a daughter together or not, I needed to let go of him. And I did, but I sent him a message and, you know, made that commitment and was very open with my counselors and my group. And, you know, I came out of that 2 days, like, and admitted it right away to everybody. And in that moment, just really like turned completely like towards like this path that God has for me, if that makes sense. And like was finally surrendered 100%, like 100%, like no reservations, like no more, like I want nothing but to do what God has for me and to let go of all this darkness and anything that's held me back and, you know, hurt me for this long. And it's like, I've gone forward from this all in. God is just so amazing. Feel like, you know, this is where like my story has helped so many people, because there's happens to be a lot of people in my group that are like newer to treatment, like haven't been to treatment a lot. There's been certain women that have also gone through, you know, some of like the sexual stuff that's gone on with me. And like I said, I keep it real and tell it like it is anyways normally, but like to be to a point where I will openly share, like I'm an open book about everything I've gone through. Like I've had so many people tell me like how much that's meant to them and like how much it's helped them. So that also has like really, really like encouraged me, you know. And that's kind of what I said, you know, to you in the beginning of this, where it's like, I know my story, like I know I went through all of this for a reason. You know, I know that God had to walk me through each and every one of these scary and, you know, just painful times, and like just being so lost and so broken and all of it, but he never let go of my hand. And like I'm in a place now where I can see, you know, I can see him like using everything the enemy meant for evil and like turning it into good. I'm just so grateful. I really am. You know, I've been trying so hard, but I can't. So the only thing I can say is like, it's different this time, because I'm in 100%. Like I just want his will for me. I want his will for me. Like that comes first. And like, I trust him, and how could I not trust him after everything that he has walked me through and kept me safe through and kept me alive through? And it's clearly for a reason. I'm still here for a reason. And I know that what he has for me is best. So like really following that, no matter what emotions I have, no matter how I feel about something, like that's secondary to me, just walking in faith and like being on this path with him. And then everything behind me is, and that's another thing, like the shame kept me stuck for so long. And I finally did a fourth and a fifth step. So that's what I was able to do after my slip, my little relapse in September. 2 months ago, I did a fourth and a fifth step, which is, you know, the huge moral inventory and sharing it with somebody else. So I did it with the pastor, your pastor, from New Day. Shout out Pastor Chris. I love him so much. He is the best. And so doing that was just so powerful and something that I had never done in my recovery before. I'd never done a fourth and a fifth step. So like I said, really actually working a program and going through those, you know, God works through the program for a reason. And it's like the steps are there for a reason, and letting go of all that. And my counselor said it to me. He's like, you can let go of all of this. And like, you don't ever have to pick it back up again. Like you don't have to carry it anymore. You do not have to carry that anymore. And, you know, I felt that and like I believed it. So I've dropped all that, and it's like I can talk about it now, but I'm not carrying it. It's not weighing me down anymore. It's not affecting how I feel about myself or anything. So yeah.
I just have to share with you how wild it is that tonight is the night that we finish your story, because we have been sitting together for over a month.
Yes.
Whenever schedules allow and illnesses allow and everything like that. And this past week, we were supposed to get together last week, and we had to move to this week. This past week, all I have been hearing from the Lord and like seeing and running into is this idea of your story healing other people. The story that God is writing through you, healing other people, and how God works for you and in you, but he also works so powerfully through you. And I just think that it's no coincidence that I've been hearing this all week, and then you come and finish your story that is literally going to set people free and give people hope and help people realize that, like, yeah, the Bible is real when he says that he forgives completely, washes white as snow.
White as snow.
Your sins are forgotten.
As far as east is from the west.
East is from the west. As far as that, they are done. And for somebody, I don't want to say like you, but somebody that's been through what you've been through, to be able to walk tall and speak about everything that you've been through and hold a job and have relationships, knowing what you've been through, how else can anybody explain that freedom other than God?
Yes. Amen. Absolutely.
And so I'm so thankful that you trusted me with recording your story and just allowing God to shine through every dark and awful moment. You have blessed me. You've changed me since the last, 10 years that, I ran into you. Yeah. And I know it's going to bless and change a lot of people that hear this.
Thank you, Amanda. This was a God thing, as we know. Because I don't know that I would have been able to share it, and it would have had the impact that it possibly can if it wasn't for you. Just the things that you added and the way that you supported me, like on and off the mic through this all I'm very, very grateful, and it's been amazing. And everything you said, I believe that it's true too. And whatever God is going to do through me, I'm all for it, and that's why I will never be quiet about what he's done in my life and how good he is, and just the redemption that he has for anybody. Yeah. He will never leave you nor forsake you ever.
Yes.
And, so I started school again. I'm back.
Okay, that was school. My thing. This is the question that I always ask.
Worker.
Yep. What's the future? You're going to be a social worker.
I'm going to be a social worker. Yep.
You're back in school.
I'm back in school. I just started. I'm part-time right now because I got a really awesome full-time job. Working at an office in Shakopee. I'm going to school at Augsburg still again. Just part-time this semester, and then I'll have a year till I get my bachelor's, and I'm going for my master's. So in 2 years, girl, I'll have my master's. And just knowing I'm so excited because I know that God's going to use me, and just the ways that how versatile social work is. I'm going to go wherever I'm meant to go and wherever he leads me. Yes. But I just know I want to help people. I want to encourage people and show people, get people to, come out of those chains and out of that darkness, because the other side is so much better, and he's so real and he's so good. And so I'm super excited about the future. I'm so grateful.
Well, just know that you always have a seat at my kitchen table at my house. You have a seat in this podcast chair and a mic open for you whenever you want to come and hang.
Thank you.
This is open to you. I love you, and I am praying for you, and I just am so excited to see what God does next.
Same, girl. I appreciate you so much. We know God's going to keep working in both of us.
Amen.
I'm excited to see where our friendship goes.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Oopsie Daisy.
Oopsie Daisy.